welcome back to Knitting Butterflies. My name is Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is going to be kind of short and sweet because I have to go pick up my kids in just a little bit, but I wanted to talk about Spinzilla because Spinzilla just happened and it was such a fun event and I thought it would be fun to do a podcast about it. So I did put all of the ways that you can connect with me earlier in the video if you don't know them already. Couple of reminders, if you want to connect with me in person, Rhinebeck is coming up in Rhinebeck, New York, and that is October 21st through 23rd. I will be there all 3 days, and then I will also be at the Needles Up event, which is October 20th, the Friday before, and possibly India Untangled, depending on how much time we have. So I am super excited to meet so many of you there. If you are looking for a fun photo challenge for that event, definitely check out the Pause for Stitches podcast with Candy. She does a super fun photo challenge for Rhinebeck, and I participated in that challenge last year, and it actually got me to take a lot of photos that I'm really glad that I took while I was there. Sometimes I think we get kind of so in the moment that we forget to take photos, but after I got home and I was scrolling through the photos that I had, I was really glad that I had a lot of these specific photos. So definitely check out Pause for Stitches with Candy and her Rhinebeck Tic Tac photo challenge. So Knit Knosh is also coming up with Becky from the Knit Actually podcast. If you want more information or tickets for that, go to knitnosh.com. That's going to happen in Arvada, Colorado on November 11th. And we have a giveaway that we are going to be giving away at the end of the episode, so be sure to stay until the end of the episode to see if you won that giveaway, and we have a new one coming up. So we might as well go ahead and get started. So I did do a couple knitting projects over the last couple weeks, but not a lot because I've been spinning. The first thing that I finished is I finished this hat. This hat is called the Diana's hat. And this is by Joanna Johnson in her book Green Gables Knits. And this is knit out of some handspun. Let me actually show you the handspun really close. This is knit out of some handspun that I made. And that was Into the Whirled Electric Bugaloo. This was the July club colorway in the classic club, in the classic fiber club. So it's a super fun and fast and easy knit, and it works really well for handspun. Actually, a lot of the projects in that book work well for handspun because they're just really relaxing, simple stitches. And so I thought it turned out pretty good. I really love it. And I had some handspun left over. Actually, I had a lot of handspun left over. So I also decided to do a pair of fingerless mitts to match. And so I finished the first one so far. This pattern is called the Easy Handspun Mitts, and I'll put it in the down bar who it's by, but this is a free pattern and it's a great pattern. I did change a couple things. I made the length of the arm a little bit longer than the pattern calls for, and then I also actually did the gusset completely different than called for in the pattern. I did the gusset from the Waiting for Winter mittens by Susan B. Anderson. I just like how the gusset is better in that. So that first one is done. You can see I have a little thingy. That's just because I am still learning how to create handspun. And then I'm almost done with the second one. I'm actually doing the top of the mitten right here and the thumb at the same time because I didn't want to put anything on waste yarn, and it's going just fine so far. So those are almost done. This yarn is a 3-ply that I just split the braid lots of different ways and tried to make like a crazy mishmash of all of the different colors together, and I think I totally did it. There's only one pop of bright pink right here, which is fine, I like it, but that's the only one that I have. And then everything else is really kind of blended and mixed and fades together, and that's exactly what I was hoping to make. So I was excited to see that the way that I spun it was exactly how I had planned on knitting it. So that was a fun project. I have been working on one pair of socks, and this is my this pair is my Fallfetti socks, and this is from Roundabout Yarn. It's turning out really pretty. I worked on this at the Rockies game down in Denver last weekend. My kids got to sing the national anthem, which was really cool. They were down on the field with tons of other schools, and so we got to go early and they sang the national anthem, and then we got to stay and enjoy the game. So this was the project that I worked on during the game. I have the first sock done, so this is the second sock, and it's just kind of my project that I work on when I don't really have anything else to do while I'm just kind of sitting around, and I haven't had a lot of that kind of time lately. So, and that is because I have been spinning like crazy. I also finished one other project this past week for my sister for her birthday, and this was the Dragon Wing Cowl by Jessie Rayot. I'm going to put a picture of it right here. This pattern was super fun. I did talk about it in the previous episode, and you knit a garter panel that increases like this, and then you take 4 stitches at a time and you drop them all the way down to the beginning. And then she teaches you how to use a crochet hook to create this really cool braided chain that's a really nice texture. And I gave it to my sister for her birthday, and she loved it. She said she's been wearing it all the time since then. And I knit it out of Red Heart Sparkle Soft, which is kind of an Aran, almost a bulky weight acrylic yarn with lots of sparkle in it, and it was in black. And it was actually really perfect. It's what the pattern called for. And when I was done knitting it and when I was done making those crochet chains, I liked it, but I wanted it to be a little bit more springy and drapey. And so I went ahead and steam blocked it with an iron, which is where you just steam the heck out of it. I don't know if I technically killed the acrylic because I don't know what that means. I think it just means that it loses its elasticity. But I did steam it quite a bit, and it became so drapey and amazing. It was so beautiful by the time it was done. And it also allowed me to make the dragon wing kind of come to points instead of just round like this. And so the really nice thing that I learned is when you block acrylic, it will hold that block forever. Even if you put it into the washer and dryer, it will still hold that block. And so even though it was Red Heart and even though it was acrylic, I feel like that was actually the best yarn for this project because it wasn't going to eventually shrink up and crinkle up and need to be reblocked and that kind of stuff. It's going to stay like that forever. And so, and it became so soft. Like I put it on and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it just created a really beautiful texture of fabric. I loved it. It was crazy how much I loved it. So, like I said, even though it's Red Heart and even though it's acrylic, I'm totally going to use it again because I thought it turned out really lovely. And the pattern was so much fun to make the crocheted braids up the spines of this shawl and so, or cowl. And I'm actually planning on using this technique, hopefully in a shawl for me, or I think it would be great on a pair of fingerless mitts to have just a single braid running up both sides right here. I think would be super fun, and especially out of handspun. So I'm really excited about this technique. Definitely check out the Dragon Wing Cowl. And it was really fun, and it was a really cool project. Oh, and the buttons. It doesn't show it in the picture, but I did use 3 buttons that I bought from the Loopy, which kind of cracked me up because I bought the yarn for like $2 on clearance at a big box store, and then I spent $3.50 a piece on the buttons. So the buttons were way more expensive than the yarn, but they were like these black talons, and they were so perfect for this project. And what I did was I just put the buttons through and I sewed them on to where I wanted, and then I told her, don't unbutton these buttons. Just leave them in because they kept snagging on the yarn whenever I would try to unbutton it and it would get tangled. So it's a stretchy enough fabric still, which is why I don't think that I actually killed it because it was stretchy enough that you can still put it over your head. And so that's what I told her to just do. Just put it over your head, and then when you're ready to take it off, just take it off over your head. And she was totally fine with that. So it was a really fun project. So I would definitely recommend knitting it. So like I said, I have been not knitting a whole lot because I have been spinning, and I participated in Spinzilla with Team Fancy Tiger. You can see my t-shirt. We were a Game of Thrones themed team this year. This was my first year participating. And if you're unfamiliar with Spinzilla, Spinzilla is an event that's sponsored by TNNA. or that's hosted by TNNA, and it's sponsored by lots of other companies, including Shacked, which is local to me, which I think is really cool. And the whole purpose of it is to educate more people about spinning. And Team Fancy Tiger helps do this in a lot of different ways. They host a lot of different events throughout Denver that they encourage all of their team members to attend if they can. And so they did their first spin night at the Rayot Brewery in downtown Denver. And then they also spun at the Denver Art Museum and the Denver Botanic Gardens. And then the event that I went to was the Friday night spin-in pajama party kind of thing at Fancy Tiger Crafts. And so I went ahead and participated. It was October 7th through 8th. This is either the 4th or the 5th year that Spinzilla has been happening. And it was actually because of Spinzilla that I started spinning. And so my friend Joanna, who's the designer of this hat, she participated the first year that Spinzilla was happening, and it was a couple months after I met her. It was fairly soon after I met her. And we were both doing a craft show together in nearby booths. And she was spinning for Spinzilla at the time. And I watched her and I was just mesmerized. It was so magical and amazing. And she showed me, this is the fiber, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm spinning. And I went home and told my husband, I want to learn how to spin. And so it took a good, I don't know, year and a half or so after that for me to finally get a wheel. But I did get a wheel, and then through different things, I had surgery one year, and then there was one year that it was either during Rhinebeck or it was my son's birthday, one of those two. I just couldn't pull off the whole Spinzilla thing. But this year, I finally decided to join Spinzilla. And I joined Team Fancy Tiger, which is kind of legendary because they won the first 2 years that the event was hosted. And I loved being a part of this event. Like I said, our team was Game of Thrones themed, and so we all had to come up with a handle for ourselves. And so I became Daenerys Skein of the House Fiberian. So I am fully aware that I look completely ridiculous, but what fun is it to be in a themed team, unless you can really go for the theme. That's all I have to say. So we had a really good time. I tried to document as much as I could throughout the week for what I was working on, and I tried to do something every day, but I did miss a couple days. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to put my day-by-day kind of Spinzilla experience for you, along with some footage of the pajama party that I went to, and we just had a great time spinning. I did get a lot of yardage in. I spun 4,734 yards during the course of the 7 days. And the way Spinzilla counts it is all of your singles count as 1 yard. Like if you spin, if you have a skein, that is 430 yards total. You get 430 yards times however many plies you have. And so if you have a 3-ply yarn, then you take 430 and then you multiply that by 3, and then you add 430 more to that number because you also plied it, and that counts as 1 length of the yardage. So it's really easy to rack up yardage really quickly, especially when you're plying, because you can have 1 skein and have it be over 2,000 yards. And I did have that at least once in the course of the competition. And so your team altogether is trying to spin as much yardage as they can total. And so, like I said, my yardage that I was able to contribute to our team was 4,734 yards, and I can show you all the stuff that I spun. So the first thing that I spun was this amazing yarn that I was not planning on spinning during Spinzilla, and Into the Whirled messed it all up. So I am part of the Into the Whirled Fiber Club, and this was the September shipment. This colorway was called A Girl Has No Name, and I'm on a Game of Thrones theme, and so team, and so I had to spin this. And so I actually have 2 identical skeins in here. What I did was I took the braid and I split it down the middle all the way so that I would have 2 skeins that would mirror each other, so that if I wanted to knit a pair of socks, they would actually be identical socks. And then I spun them into, I took just 1 piece at a time and spun it into 1 long singles, and then I chain plied it. And so there are 2 identical skeins in here, and this is the label. So this is the same logo as the logo on my shirt. They sent us this logo to use for social media. And what I did for our team was I just inverted the logo in Photoshop to make it black instead of white, and then created labels on my computer, which is just an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that is in portrait mode. And then I put 2 labels on the top and bottom. And I added a bunch of information that you could fill out: the fiber, the colorway, the yardage, the number of plies, the weight of the finished yarn, and the wraps per inch. And so I have all of that information out here. And then it also has a place for your handle and any notes that you want. So I wrote my entire title right there. So like I said, I'll put that at the end so you can see it. But so this was 586 yards, and so it's a 3-ply. So I got to take 586 and multiply it by 4, because there's 3 plies plus the 1 more long plying single that I got. And so when you multiply it by 4, it ends up being like 2,344 yards out of just this one skein. So this was half of my yardage all by itself in this single skein. It's going to be amazing when it's knit up. It's Targhee. I am so in love with this yarn. So there's that. Then I also finished 2 more skeins of, and this is the problem with this wig, it's shedding everywhere. And so I couldn't spin with it on in the spinning event because the hair was just getting caught all the time. So, but I did finish 2 skeins of my Cormo fleece that I sampled before Spinzilla even started. And these are 3-ply, so I spun it into a long draw single onto 3 separate bobbins. And what I ended up doing was I ended up using some storage bobbins that actually fit 3 of my regular bobbins that I could then use a drill and spin and transfer all of the singles from those bobbins onto a single one of these storage bobbins. And so I did that 3 times, and I filled up 3 storage bobbins, which is, I want to say I spun 10 regular bobbins full of long draw, and then spun them all together into 3 plies to make these 2 skeins. This one is 276 yards, which if you do the math, it is 1,104 yards for Spinzilla. This one is 288 yards, which is 1,152 Spinzilla yards. And then I also spun a bunch of singles, and I was literally spinning until 11:59 and 59 seconds on the last day. And I didn't quite get everything plied. So I have this right here. This is 136 yards of singles that eventually I'll wind back up into a center pull ball, and I'll use that to ply from for a skein in the future. So overall, it's 4,700 yards and some change, and it was a blast. I cannot wait for next year. I think this was one of the most fun, like, competitive events and like local events that I've been to. I really love the local atmosphere of it. I wish I could have gone to the Botanic Gardens and to the art museum, because it looked like there were a lot of people who were interested in learning about spinning, and I love being a part of that. On the first day, my friend Joanna and I went to a coffee shop and sat in the front of the coffee shop and spun for like 4 hours and chatted and talked, and had so many people come up and asking us questions, and their kids were excited and just wanted to sit and watch the wheels spin and turn around and stuff. And we let them touch the fiber, and we had there was like this group of older men that came to meet for coffee, and so they came over and they were asking us questions, and so we were showing them how the wheels work, because a spinning wheel is the same basic machine that a bicycle is, or even like how a car moves and that kind of stuff. And so it was fun to show them the different parts, and they related them to different car mechanics and bicycle mechanics and all these different inventions that we have. It's such a simple, beautiful invention. And so it was a blast. Like I said, I can hardly wait for next year. Hopefully I can wear a wig next year that's not quite as itchy, because this is driving me crazy. But I do have some photography that I wanted to talk about as well. And like I said, at the end of this episode, I'm going to put in lots of video of how Spinzilla went over the last week. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I went and picked up my kids, and I haven't done any photography talk for a while, so I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of photography talk about something that I picked up yesterday at the store. And this is called the Mobile Photo Set by Poser Snap. I bought this at Barnes & Noble for 75% off. So it was originally $20, and I bought it for $5. So this is the box that it comes in, but there's a lot of things that are just like this on the market. And it just looked interesting, and I've wanted to try something like this for a while, and for $5 I thought it would totally be worth it. So this is what it comes with, and there are 3 lenses that come with this, and then a flashlight kind of thing. And what you do is the different lenses, you have this little clippy thing right here, and this clips onto the camera on your phone, and then the lenses screw in and out of this little clippy thing. So this lens right here is the macro lens, and it allows you to zoom in really, 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 really close and still be able to focus your camera. And then it also comes with a wide angle lens that you can only use with the macro lens on it, and I'm not sure why it's set up like this, but I've noticed when I was doing some research about that's how a lot of the other lenses come too. So you actually screw it together onto your macro lens, and there's a little lens cap. And so there's both of those pieces. And then it also comes with a fisheye lens, which could be pretty fun to play with. I don't really use these 3 types of lenses very often. But I thought it would be fun to try. And so, like I said, when you're ready, then you just unscrew this, and then if you want to try the fisheye lens, then you just screw this on, and now it's on and ready to clip to your camera on your phone. And then the thing I was most excited about in this set was this little light right here. This is pretty cool. I want to see how well it works. It comes with a little light, and it turns, so it has its own battery that you can charge. Ooh, that looks crazy. So it has its own battery that you can charge, and you can set how bright it is. Ooh, that's super bright. So see what it's doing right there? Well, look at that. You can already kind of see. So we have medium bright, and then low. Interesting. So if you want more of like a portrait effect, you can do this kind of thing, and it changes your exposure. That's kind of cool, actually. That's fun to play with. So what I like about this, there's a few different things. One is that you can mount it directly onto your camera, and it goes into the headphone jack, and then it actually came with its own USB cord to charge, which is super handy. So it goes into the headphone jack. In my case, then I have to use my phone upside down because the flash or the headphone jack is on the bottom of the phone. But it looks kind of intriguing, and I'm excited to see what this does. You can also make it so that you can do lighting on your front camera or on your rear facing camera, which I think is really helpful because my camera doesn't have any kind of a light on the front of the camera, and so that could be helpful, especially if I'm, taking selfies at night or anything like that. And then you can also do side lighting and portrait lighting like what we were just doing, because you don't have to have it mounted onto your camera. And I didn't know that when I bought it, but that made me super excited. So you can, have your item right here and then turn your light source on and then have your camera over here. So it makes for a lot more availability for what you want to do with off-camera lighting in a teeny tiny light that will fit in my pocket. So I'm excited to try this out. I think this piece is the piece that makes me the most excited. But I thought over the next couple days I would take some video for you to show this is what my camera is doing without these tools on, and then this is what the camera is doing with the tools on, just to kind of play with it and show you what you can do. Like I said, there's a lot of these sets available that are on the market on Amazon or at Best Buy or things like that. This one was by far the best deal that I've seen for $5 for that set. There was another set that was originally priced at $30 that came with a tripod and a selfie stick, but I didn't really need those items, so I didn't think it was worth the money. And now honestly I'm contemplating going back and getting that set too, because it was also 75% off, and it came with a Bluetooth clicker too, so that you could set your camera up somewhere and then do the clicker and then it would set it off. So that is kind of cool. But yeah, because my camera is not currently working, I am starting to explore other avenues of photography and ways to still kind of keep my skills up and practice and try new techniques without having to invest a ton of money into another camera. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about that, or if you have something that you know you want me to check out, let me know what it is and I can see what I can do for photo gear. Let me know what it is and let me see what I can do as far as testing items for you or techniques or things like that, especially with cell phones. And I would love to show some of that to you. So that is going to be it for today. Thank you for joining me. This was a blast and I'm so glad that I did Spinzilla. I can't wait to show you kind of like the day by day how that ended up, and I will talk to you all very soon. Have a good day. The whole day spinning with my friend Joanna. Doesn't get much more hipster than, you know, lugging your spinning wheel around downtown.